Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about what happened earlier today as the House of Representatives voted on a bill to ban TikTok if the owners don't force a sale. Now, this is a big conversation that folks are seeing that this may change the social media landscape. And more importantly, some are saying it infringes upon the freedom of speech and personal expression. We'll have that conversation. Also, there is some big word that's coming out of Georgia as one of the judges, the judge in the election interference case, has decided to dismiss some of the charges against former President Donald Trump. We'll talk to you about that situation. Also, let's talk about the latest coming out of Haiti as the country is in crisis. As the prime minister stepped down, some violent gangs are on the loose, and the U.S. has decided to send some military troops into the region. We'll talk about what is going to be the outcome of that. And later on, we'll talk about how one federal judge has declared a minority business agency to discriminate against white people. Wow, we'll give you the latest of that. Folks, stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, before we jump into all of the great discussions, let's let you know that we are streaming on our very own platform. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free on all of your devices. You can also follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And we truly appreciate if you throw something in the pocket, a bucket, just to help us out with the donations. Any donation of any kind will help us to move forward in this the space that we're in of creating a platform for content like this to be distributed. So your support means a world of difference. It matters so much to us. So please go to our website today, and we want to say thank you for your support. Now, folks, we are streaming on a couple of different social media platforms under Big Brother Roland Martin. So you can check us out on the Facebook page, on his Facebook page, as well as on his YouTube channel. And big shout out to the online culture crew that's already checked in from around the country. There we go, to have these conversations. I'm very, very excited to hear what folks are saying. We got a lot of people in the chat right now, and we want you to join us as we have these discussions about everything from what's going on with this TikTok bill to what's going on with former President Trump and Haiti and so much more. So join the conversation. And for all of the new watchers in the chat right now, welcome to The Culture. And we look forward to having some very civilized and balanced conversation. Don't mind having some disagreements. We just want to make sure that we stay respectful of everyone in this space. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the illustrious culture crew. All right, folks, let me check in with my sister. She is doing some fantastic work in her space. So she represents the great South Florida area. She is a licensed attorney out of the state of Florida. She's also the host of the Suzette Speaks Show. She is a contributor here on The Culture, as well as Roland Martin Unfiltered, political strategist. I mean, she's doing a dynamic job, man. She's doing a hell of a job, doing it for The Culture. My sister Suzette Speaks is joining me right now. Suzette, woo!
Hey, everybody. How are you?
I'm good, Suzette. Happy Wednesday, Suzette. Happy Wednesday.
I'm excited about this conversation, as always.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's first talk about TikTok. And people, Suzette, have been like kind of, I've been meaning to talk about this for a minute since the story kind of gotten some momentum. But people are like, TikTok, why are we worried about TikTok? But the bigger question is, why is the government worried about TikTok, right? And that is going to open up the whole conversation about quote unquote state-run media. That are we starting to see signs that the government is going to now put its foot down and create some boundaries for social media platforms? We know that like Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, He did, testified before Congress and sharing his. I guess he apologized to families that have lost children because of online bullying and other issues there. There's always the security breach issue that has been constant throughout these tech companies, whether it's Meta or whoever. But now we're seeing that it's more than it just seems to be more than just data mining, that this is something that the government feels is a very, very real concern, especially with so many millions of Americans that are logged onto these social media sites, just doing what they do. But then on the other side of it, people are saying it infringes upon freedom of speech, personal expression. The government is going too far. Talk to us a little bit about the latest in Washington with this.
Well, the House has spoken. There was a vote earlier today, and greetings to all my culture crew watching. I see y'all in the chat. Good to be here, Faraji. Thank you for having me. There has been a vote in the United States House of Representatives. Again, our two-chamber Congress, the United States Senate, and the United States House. Only one side has approved the bill that you have just referenced. So what does that mean? In the bill that was passed today, in a bipartisan effort, it basically is requiring TikTok to sell its foreign held assets to an American company so that it will not be subject to the Chinese government. So as you've raised, there is a history here, and the real issue of security is whether or not, as a Chinese-owned company, ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, can be neutral, or are we putting Americans' data, right, what we look at, who's in our contact list, what we search, in the hands of the Chinese government that could possibly use it against us? How? Many of us who have seen, what has happened in the last couple of election cycles via Facebook know that these platforms wield a lot of power with how they put information out about candidates, about elections, and it can impact how the electorate as a whole sees, the current candidates in a certain election cycle. So they're afraid, the Congress is afraid of the political implications it may have with the possibility of the Chinese government, which in the rules of Chinese business, all businesses that are founded in China are subject to the Communist Party. They can have access to information from the business, access to board seats, et cetera, et cetera. So now we have 170 million US users of TikTok, more than half the country. I'm not one of them, Faraji, because I have been on this very precautious movement towards this platform, because I'm like, how are they going to be using our data? And that's one of the most important pieces of information about every human being right now on this planet, is what you really look up, what you really search, and how you're spending your time on your apps. So with this piece of legislation, as I said, they have 6 months to sell the Chinese majority, the Chinese held portion of the company, to an American company. And if they do not divest, there is a possibility, based on the bill that was passed today, that the app will be blocked for American users. So there's a lot of consequences here. TikTok itself waged a ad campaign, which I don't know if it was for them or against them, trying to get young people. They say students in schools were calling their Congress people, talk about getting them ready for political activism, to say, don't stop, the TikTok. Should we be ticking? Should we be talking? No, please, we need this app. You have business owners. Now there's an influencer economy that has grown tremendously. And now I'm not talking about teenagers and 20-something. I'm talking about people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who have built entire companies based on the traction they got through the use of TikTok and advertising. I'm thinking about Tabitha Brown, for example, how she started with one reel, or one TikTok, I should say, and how it helped her now to become, I think 4 million plus strong on Insta. I don't know what her total TikTok numbers are, because I told you I'm not on TikTok. But anyway, but there is a dance happening. Now, will there be an appetite in the Senate is the key, if they will pass this version or their own version. And then the ultimate decision maker to sign this bill will be none other than President Biden. Now, he has not come out as to where he stands right this minute. Of course, former President Trump once was against TikTok, now says he's for TikTok. And he's arguing that he thinks there should be some sort of counterbalance to a Facebook's influence and how large Facebook has become. Who will buy TikTok? That's the other big question. We've seen a regulatory market where we've seen federal regulators not approve a lot of big mergers, whether that have been in the planes and other industries. I was thinking of some other large banks that wanted to buy each other, airlines that wanted to buy each other.
Yeah.
They've stopped.
Yeah.
So will this even pass the federal muster if there is a offer made, right? So you've had the Chinese government come out and make statements about how this has been kind of it's complicating our relationship with China, which is already very complicated. And they're trying to, as you stated, play up the free speech component, which there are members of Congress who have come out today and said they don't think this will pass or stand if a lawsuit is filed and taken to the Supreme Court, that maybe in a vote for 9-0, this is their speculation, it won't stand because people have to have a means of their free speech. And I think the rule cited says there has to be implemented the least restrictive alternative. Now, canceling an entire app, you will have to figure if that meets that standard, least restrictive alternative for being able to express oneself. But those 170 million users do have the right to express themselves, and that will be the argument. But the lawmakers in our country, at least on the House side, in a bipartisan, 352 to 62 vote, majority, both Democrats and Republicans felt strongly. Again, it's banned on federal employee devices. It's banned by several countries, as largest being India, across the world. So there's something to be said as to why you wouldn't want people working in your government on TikTok, but you're letting your citizens also participate. I don't know. It's a catch-22 right now, but the first half of this journey is complete. The House has passed this bill.
This is so interesting. We got to take a quick pause, but this is so interesting. I got some pushback on this because I feel like, people, these are apps, these are social media spaces, and I'm not taking away from the power of this, but there's a lot, as much as people say personal expression, there's a lot of misinformation that's on these spaces. So we'll talk more about this. Crew, what's your take on this as the House is moving forward has moved forward to ban TikTok in the US, forcing the hands of the owners to either sell it or get rid of it altogether? I want to get your take on it. Post your comments, share your questions, and we'll be right with you in a few moments. Stay with us. We got to take a quick pause. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot
tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad, joined by my sister, Suzette Speaks, host of the Suzette Speaks Show on YouTube, as well as a licensed attorney and political strategist. As we talk about this latest bill coming from the House that was passed today to force the sale of TikTok. But this is a bill that inches closer to the possibility of banning the social media app from users in the United States. Now, in this particular bill, and Suzette, you mentioned this, the vote was 352 to 65. There was one member, one of our favorites here on the Black Star Network, Democrat Representative Jasmine Crockett. Y'all know Sister Jasmine.
Texas, let's go.
We know Jasmine Crockett, but she voted present. Now the bill heads to the Senate, where it faces what some would describe as an uncertain fate, and there appears to be less urgency to act. But I want to share with you what Speaker Mike Johnson had to say about this. Take a look at this, and let's post quote 2, please, Lise. Thank you. That the communist China, that's how he starts this off. Communist China is America's largest geopolitical foe and is using technology to actively undermine America's economy and security. This is what from Mike Johnson from Louisiana. He said in a statement after the vote, warning that TikTok could be used to access American data and spread harmful information. Today's bipartisan vote demonstrates Congress's opposition to Communist China's attempts to spy on and manipulate Americans and signals our resolve to deter our enemies. Let's break this down. Let's break this down, Suzette. Here's the thing. I think that we need to kind of understand, and I don't know why, maybe the speaker does know this, but it's not as if anybody forces us to be on social media and make it appealing, but ultimately the decision comes down to us as users to be on social media for whatever purpose, for how long we want to be on there on a given day, right? So as much as we're talking about, the responsibility from China, and, we can definitely have concerns about data mining and security. We can even have concerns about economy, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But we also need to have a conversation, a more cultural conversation as to why Americans feel that the only way that they're going to be heard is on TikTok or on social media in general. Like, if you talk about any of these stories, and Suzette, I know you keep up on, like, if you talk about Risa Tisa, if you talk about anything that's happening, people jump on social media. That, I think, is why we should have a conversation. He's talking about to spy on and manipulate Americans. Americans want to tell their story. So folks will divulge regardless. As long as they got a space and a place and people that are willing to hear, somebody's going to tell their story. Now, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to jump in. I would agree with you when it comes to the users over 18 years old. But on a platform like TikTok, the vast majority of folks that we see that are quite frankly addicted to this app are underage.
That's true.
We know that these apps are designed to be addictive, right? They keep you on them. They give you that dopamine high that we desire for, next video. And I mean, yes, there is a choice, and I understand the accountability piece, but also I do think there is a need for, and we've seen this in legislation across the country, but particularly here in Florida, we were in our last session, our state House of Representatives and State Senate just closed their normal session, their time for doing business and passing laws in the budget. And one of the things that was being tossed about was trying to keep social media out of the hands of anyone younger than, and I think the age has changed. At first it was 16, and then it was 13 because that has been successful in other states, etc. So there is a part of it that speaks to the influence it has on formative minds, on people who have, little people, kids who have not yet grown the critical thinking muscles, if you will, and the ability to discern between what is real and what is not real, and what is actual news and what is actually propaganda. They don't know. So just to even see the response of the young people who were calling Congress as a result of, your folks that we want TikTok, and how, many were quite frankly flustered and panicked in losing their access to this app. I do think, yes, there is a form of personal responsibility, but I think it's exploitive in a way of folks who are not of age, and that it can, for what they look at now and what it's feeding their developing brains now, it can be quite influential long term, even more so than parents and government. So we do have to look at it in terms of the emotional development and mental health development and things that we have seen. There's been studies about.
That's true. I agree.
Addictive nature of social media and how it has impact. We used to leave school, Faraji, and we didn't have to worry about those people till we got back the next day. These folks, these young people, they take it home in their hands. And it's like a constant, I know folks with kids who are always battling I'm turning off the Wi-Fi in my house tonight so my kids will go to sleep, because if not, they'll sneak. I know people whose teenagers, when they are grounded, will find a way to get a second phone. And I'm like, how are kids doing this? And they are just as determined as we were when we were young, right, to have access to what we want. But these programs are different. I think there's a lot of mind, I want to say mind control, but of influence it has on
manipulation
in our country that I think it's a public health issue. And so if lawmakers want to look at it and try to help parents in this, in their ability to determine whether this is right for their child or not, it's important that they do so, because all that information, what Google is selling is what we're Googling. I know that sounds redundant, but what we look up, what we really think, what our searches really are, that is a gold mine to advertisers, to people who want to sell us stuff. And that is the economic, gold of this entire, social media environment, this experiment that's happening in real time for our children who are now, digital natives. It is a lot of influence that it can have on what they think of as right and wrong or good or bad. And we have to, as a government, I'm glad our government is not just sitting on the sidelines saying, it is a completely, a free market issue. And that's what the Chinese government is saying. Why are you interfering with the market? People are buying, as you say, they like it. Why? But people liked, Coca-Cola with cocaine in it. And we knew as a government in the 20s, we had to get rid of that. Right. So we can't always depend on industry to do the right thing. No. And I do think, there's legitimate security concerns when it comes to malware and things that can be downloaded by children, and then information. Not only from them, because again, the parents oftentimes the wallet or the GPay, Apple Pay, whatever is connected to it. There's a lot of information that you may not want the Chinese government to have, but you give them permission because this is a fun app. So I do think I don't know that there will be a popular opinion among those who are TikTok, fanatics, but the economic piece I do think plays into it. There are people that are
we can talk about that.
Way I can reach my clients and my customers, and that you're going to take food out my mouth. I think the business class might have a lot more influence at this point than what we're seeing in terms of the groundswell of opposition from maybe younger folks. But yeah, it has many layers, and I do think it is important that we look at that one when it comes to children. And
absolutely, no, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We got to take another pause, but when we come forward, I want to talk about the business and economic side, because I'm gonna be honest with you. When I hear people give the argument, oh, it's used as a business model, I remember, and I don't know if this happened in any other state. I remember in Maryland, they wanted to do the lottery because they said, oh, the funds from the lottery would help to go towards schools and the rebuilding of schools.
I know we do that in Florida.
You see what I'm saying? And then guess what? And then people have gambling addictions, and people have, they spend extra money if the jackpot is more, and then that disrupts family budgets and stuff. And we don't, and it's like on the outset, it's like, oh, there is a noble cause, but then behind the scenes, it's like all this other stuff is happening. And I think we should, to your point, I think we should give some scrutiny to what is really happening. Yeah, people are connected on business, and yes, I use it to connect with my clients, but at the end of the day, it's TikTok.
Yeah.
All right, let's go take a quick pause. Stay with me, folks. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad, checking in with my sister Suzette Speaks as we talk about the House moving forward on signing a bill, pushing a bill forward to ban TikTok, where there are a lot of concerns from economic concerns to security concerns to even cultural concerns. And Suzette bring up an excellent point, talking about mental health of young people who are using the app, who were dancing. We were all dancing just a couple of years ago. We were all dancing on the app. You know what I'm saying? Suzette, now it's like TikTok became this other thing. It became the big ugly monster in the room. But I think this is a hardball attempt by the United States government to take control. I think that's what it essentially is. It's like you have this influential medium where people are getting information. It's shaping how people are seeing the world. It becomes this other thing, and the government is trying to take control. Now, I think that is a much bigger conversation as to whether that is okay or not, that the government should intervene when you have 170 million of its citizens are on a particular platform. And so it does open the door for misinformation. And I agree with that. It does, we didn't talk about it on the show, but, it's like those AI pictures of supposed black people with Trump. Like when you start to see these things, for me, it makes me realize that we are all susceptible to being deceived. Like no one can say, well, I have it all together. All of us can be deceived. All of us can be misled. All of us can be misinformed about something, right? And so in a time where information, you mentioned the influencer economy, but there is an information economy that is alive and well in this country. And if information if there is blood in the water, if there's distortion of any type of information, it's harder for people to believe what they see and what they read, because when you're constantly lied to or deceived, when the truth comes into the mix, you can't tell the difference. And that messes up people's heads.
Absolutely. Just to jump in, a lot of younger people don't use traditional means of getting news, like how we would normally watch, or there are generations that would normally watch perhaps the evening news or listen to NPR or get their information from other sources so they can compare and contrast what they're seeing. No, it actually becomes law to them, so to speak, when they're looking at it. And that must be true because I saw it on TikTok. Like, it's very scary. And again, the elephant in the room is that it is Chinese owned. So we can see, as we have seen in the past, other governments such as Russia, which has allegedly influenced the 2020 election and others, that it could be a real big problem if you don't have the ability to fully regulate this type of medium. How much power, that's how Facebook is right now, how much power it has over the world, not only the American public or the American electorate.
Oh yeah.
The ability for things to spread fast and quickly. I mean, it has influence across the world in civil wars, where rumors have caused people to like go out in the streets and do incredibly harmful things to one another based on, you know, rumors spread on apps. So we hate to be, you know, doomsdayists and think about all these negative possible connotations, but we got to think about them now, because our democracy can be influenced by these apps. And that's just the truth of it.
That opens the door, yeah.
Control of these and the messaging, right? He who and she who controls the media has so much power, right, over the average person's mind and what they think is good or bad, or if an election was stolen or not. So if they're allowed to put out things where it's not fact checked, and it's not in a kind of like a neutral algorithm, they decide the winners and losers. Because there have always been stories about, you know, Black content creators that don't go viral for the very same dances, or don't get credit for the very same, you know, creativity that a white content creator may put out, because there's a button. There are human beings along with the algorithm that are deciding the winners and losers. So it's not a completely neutral marketplace, so to speak, or how they would have us believe, or there would be so many of us that would be much more popular or have a lot more views, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not completely neutral in that sense.
Excellent point.
When it comes to picking winners and losers in a political sense, it could have a lot more influence than we would want on our election, and how, again, our not only our young people, everyone who's on it can think. But I do have empathy for those who are saying, this is my marketplace. This is where I get my customers. This is how I've grown a business. This is how I make my livelihood. I think, again, those voices will become a little bit more louder as we've taken this law, or Congress has taken this bold step, bipartisan, in its support to start this kind of major change in the marketplace. And if it will pass constitutional muster when it comes to the First Amendment arguments that are being made.
And look, and I couldn't agree with you more, because there's so much at stake. Let me just share this with y'all. I had to look this up. According to Goldman Sachs estimates, that's the bank, y'all. The Goldman Sachs Bank, the influencer creator economy. I saw these numbers, Suzette, and was what? It's currently worth $250 billion. There
you go.
And it's expected to nearly double to $480 billion by 2027, according to Goldman Sachs. 2027, you have a $480 billion industry. That's but it's currently, as it stands, $250 billion. Now, when people say, well, everybody can't be an influencer, right? And I think that we should really push back on some of the elements of that. Because one, everybody can't do it. And then two, when you're talking about being an influencer, where do you have the time to be just who you are? Mm-hmm. Where is that? Instead of you promoting brands and the latest this and the fads, and it's like we all, and let's keep it real, y'all. How many of us has done sales? That's what influencers are. You can put a pretty name on it. But I've done sales for years. That's what you're doing. You're selling something, right? But you're talking about this type of economy that's waging war. Now, people say, well, what about the influencers? Look, in every industry, the industry goes up and down. Here in Los Angeles, for example, the entertainment industry is the predominant industry. Paramount, a few weeks ago, laid off 800 people. Paramount Studios, 800 people. Right. So there are going to be industry goes through changes. So I don't think that's the strongest argument as to why we need to keep a social media app, because we're like, well, what about the influencers? These are people who saw a golden ticket, left their regular jobs, and decided to go in front of a camera, and boom. Case in point, my son loves this guy, Mr. Beast. He's on the cover of Time magazine.
Big.
He gets 430 million views. If y'all don't know who Mr. Beast is, average guy, he does some great things.
Yeah, going around the world now. Right.
And he's considered to be the most watched individual on the planet. This is what Time Magazine put out about it.
And he's not a government. He's never gotten elected to nothing. He just puts up videos. Imagine that power. It's amazing, actually.
And I mean, Suzette, you said it. You said it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like there are certainly some pros. I mean, of course, there are some folks in the chat say, well, we can see what's going on in other countries and everything. But then at the same time, you know, just as much as there is the influencers economy, what about the attention economy? And I remember hearing that terminology, Suzette, and it blew me away. And I was like, attention. We only have so much bandwidth to take in information. After a while, y'all know how it is. At the end of the workday, your attention economy is like this, right? So don't ask your children, your spouse, your significant other to check in and be like, oh, can we have a conversation? I know I check out. At the end of the day, I check out like, hey, look, man, don't talk to me, man. Just I don't care, you know. I can't take anymore. So I'm saying these things just because we have to wonder, like, we have to look at all the dynamics of this. All right, let me get a couple of crew members. Folks are checking in, and so many folks are checking in. LaShawn J said, I have no idea who Mr. Beast is at all. Just Google him. LaShawn. this guy is everywhere. LaShawn, thank you so much. But LaShawn also mentioned something else, but I'm going to have to find LaShawn's comment. But LaShawn, thank you. C. Cole said, who cares about influencers? I am talking about folks with real companies. Hey, look, if you are creating a $250 billion industry, that's a real job.
I was about to say, I wouldn't knock it. It's not everybody making money.
That's a real job.
They're making a lot of money. Absolutely. And when we think about those numbers, if you say 430 million views, it rolls off our tongue, Faraji, but that's more people than in the United States. That's more people than you got to think about that. If you put all those people in a stadium, what that would look like. And one of his videos commands that type of viewership. Even people who will make 1 million views. Think about the influence in people's minds of what we're directing our attention towards, as you're talking about, and what we're putting our energy in. That's a lot of responsibility. Yes, a lot of influence, but it is now what people want. People want everyday people to talk to online. Right? Not around the corner, not, used to go out to the bar. No, I just look at my phone and I'm friends with, or I enjoy the content of this person. It's very interesting now how it's shaping our minds.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick pause, but I really quickly, got 30 seconds, and I know we got to take a break. But where do you think this is going to go, Suzette? How do you think the Senate is going to handle this situation, even though they say it's most likely it's going to die in the Senate? But it's got the conversation started. What do you think is going to happen next?
I hope it does not have a passage before this election, because I think, me thinking as the strategist, long term, if this does pass the Senate, but again, right now, Mitch McConnell does not sound like he has an appetite to bring this to his chamber in any kind of expeditious manner. I think that it would be a very interesting decision if President Biden received this type of legislation passed by both houses on his desk before this election. It could have, I think, a lot of implications when it comes to younger voters. And I wouldn't want that to tip the scales. Here we are. And that's how important this issue is for many folks in the electorate, younger folks, people who are maybe even not even regular voters. This is their issue. They want their TikTok, and they're going to vote against or for the person that makes sure that, supply chain stays open. But yeah, I don't know if we'll see it move as quickly in the Senate. And that's going to be the key. And then, of course, it'll be up to President Biden as to whether to sign it into law.
Absolutely. You don't like my music? You said, more importantly, the algorithms know what we want to hear. You on some Big Brother stuff right there.
It is.
Big Brother stuff. Thought Thumper, you said Mr. Beast at least does good with his influence. He does. He does. He does. He really does. But it's just using it as an example, not to throw shade on him, but I'm just saying that's how much influence and power he has when you're in front of that camera. And Suzette, you said it earlier, very quickly. You said it earlier. There are some people who get that level of attention, and where others who probably need that attention, you don't see them.
Never see them. Yep.
You don't see them. Whether you're a black content creator or whatever.
Yeah, but it's true. It's true.
It's very true. It's very true. All right, look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about how the judge in the Georgia election interference case has decided to dismiss some of the charges from former President Donald Trump. Is this as a result of what we saw with DA Fannie Willis, or is this something else? We'll talk a little bit more about the case. We got a lot more to discuss on the next half. For folks, stay engaged, stay with us, continue to post your comments, share your thoughts, and on the other side, let's get back into it. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. And we are having the discussions like no other here. And that's why we are always asking for your support as we are streaming live on our home network of Black Star Network. You can go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. But we also look for your support, your donations. It makes a world of difference. Your support matters to us as we are engaged on this digital movement, creating content and having discussions and putting out information out there that's just right and that's culturally competent for Black America. So folks, make sure y'all show y'all support today. We want to thank Miss Judy Hallman for putting a little something in the pot today. Judy, thank you so much for your support. Every little cent counts, because we are building a movement. We are creating a space and a platform that's just for us. So again, your support means the world to us. So thank you, Judy, and thank you to all of those who have donated. Also, make sure y'all follow Big Brother Roland Martin on all social media platforms, and follow yours truly, me, Faraji Muhammad. You can find me at The Real Faraji on Instagram. I would love to connect with you right there at Faraji on X platform, and at Faraji Muhammad on Facebook. I would love to connect with you and hear more of what you have to say about these topics. Now, let's jump back into it, folks. Checking in with my sister, Suzette Speaks, who is the host of the Suzette Speaks show. She's a licensed attorney from the state of Florida, political strategist, and just a dynamic woman, just a dynamic person.
Shout out to the chat. Not in the chat, but shout out to the chat today. We on fire. I love seeing
We on fire. That's why I got the rocket. We on fire today. All right. Let's talk about this. There we go.
I love it. I love
that's for Suzette, because that's how she get down there in South Florida. That's how y'all get down in South Florida.
Let's go.
All right, let's go take a trip down to Georgia. Suzette, what is going on in Georgia? All right, here's the situation, folks. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee has decided to take on a major step in quashing 6 counts in the indictment of former President Donald Trump. If you don't know who Judge Scott McAfee is, he is the judge overseeing the 2020 election interference case. And today, he dismissed some of these charges against the former president and others, but the rest of the sweeping racketeering indictments remains intact, according to reports from AP News. 6 counts in the indictment, which means including 3 against Trump, who is the Republican nominee.
Mm-hmm.
But the judge, he left in place other counts, including 10 facing Trump, and said prosecutors could seek a new indictment to try to reinstate the ones he dismissed. Now, we see this now, but many people are saying, Suzette, part of this could be because of the drama and the controversy of DA Fani Willis. But I'm glad you're on, because you can kind of help us to clear up some of the things. Why did he dismiss these charges? And is it because of what we see with DA Fani Willis?
Well, some people are saying it's related. Thank you for laying that out so eloquently, Faraji. So what happened today, and I haven't even gotten through the full ruling. It's only a few pages, like 9-page ruling that came out earlier today from the judge there in Fulton County overseeing the conspiracy case with Donald Trump and his purported co-conspirators in trying to overturn the election outcome there in Georgia. So what this is to me is like almost like a fake out. It's not fake, it's real. But in terms of what people were waiting on this judge to rule versus what he ruled on today, it was kind of like, wow, okay, non-expected type ruling. But he laid out, as you pointed out, a 6 counts that he didn't believe had been substantiated enough by the prosecution, so much so that he basically dropped them from the indictment. So Fani Willis and her team had laid out originally 41 different counts, and 3 of them, as you pointed out, applied to former President Trump. So what we've seen now is basically his total amount of accounts go from 91 to 88 in this case, because again, those 3 have been now removed from this case. Now, Judge McAfee in his ruling stated, as written, these six counts, I'm just reading directly, contain all the essential elements of the crimes, but fail to allege sufficient detail regarding the nature of their commission, i.e. the underlying felony solicited. What were his words? So he's saying, not saying that these didn't happen, not saying that they might not actually have enough proof to back them up, but what you've put in this filing so far and what you place in front of the grand jury is not sufficient to prove up these specific charges. So I'm going to remove them from your lawsuit. So of course, Trump's legal team is excited about it and they feel like it's a win. And
Before you move forward, is it a win?
No,
is that a technicality, or is it not a win? Or is that a win?
Not necessarily. Of course, less charges the better. So I guess you could say a win is a win in that regard. So some charges are now moved off the table for the former president and the alleged co-conspirators. But the door is still open for the prosecutorial team to come back and bring these same charges again. Like he said, he didn't close the door completely. Obviously, the major proportion of the charges still stand. So that's the other thing. It doesn't take away from the prosecutor's desire to show that there was actually a conspiracy, but the specifics of what the judge removed were in regards to the phone call that President Trump purportedly made to Brad Raffensperger, looking for votes. If you guys remember, all we need is another, and I'm paraphrasing, 11,000 votes. You just need to find me 11,000 votes, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know what other proof this judge wanted to prove up the charges that he removed, but the prosecutors do have the opportunity. He left a 6-month window open where they can bring these back in front of a grand jury to see if the grand jury finds that there is sufficient evidence to bring charges, or alternately they can appeal this judge's decision to the next layer, to the middle layer, to the Georgia appellate courts to see with him. So there's still a door that's open, but after the break, we'll bring back to why
this is interesting. This is very interesting.
And the case that we thought, or the part of the case, whether to disqualify her or not, for a purported relationship. Now there's evidence of a said relationship with Mr. Nathan Wade, and whether or not he did a sufficient enough job in charging. That's what now I see is coming to the fore with this new ruling by the judge there.
Janae checked in and said the judge played it safe, especially since he worked with Fani in the past. He dismissed some of the charges without penalizing Fani. And I'm going to give you a chance to kind of respond to that on the other side. But that would be interesting. Is this more of like, okay, he's trying to show that he's neutral. He's not all the way. Yeah, he's kind of neutral, right? Like he's willing to make a compromise. But like you said, he left the door open and say, look, I'm going to take them off, but y'all got to prove, these charges of the, you got to make sure these charges stick. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that. So this is an interesting little space that we find ourselves in. And some folks are even thinking that this is indicated that he might keep her on the case. So we will have to talk about it. Folks, stay with us. The conversation continues with Suzette and, of course, with you on the other side. Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
You will not
white people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
There's all the Proud Boys, Dave.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad, joined by my sisters, Suzette Speaks, as we're talking about Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee deciding to dismiss 6 counts in the indictment against former President Donald Trump and his associates. 3 of those are against Trump himself because he felt like the charges that were against the president needed to be reworked. I feel like that's the best word.
Substantiated enough, according to him.
They weren't substantiated enough. I like it.
Yep, that's what he thinks.
So many people are looking at this situation, Suzette, and saying, okay, and of course, this is the same judge that's overseeing the case against DA Fani Willis and the controversy of her.
The hearing.
The hearing. You're right. See, this is why I like Suzette, y'all. She likes to stay technical.
She is not
on trial. She's not on trial. She's not on trial.
Yes. It's her hearing, right?
It's a hearing. All right. Okay.
On whether or not she should be
disqualified. No, technically she's not on trial, folks. Let me just be clear. Like, for those who are looking for news, like, technically she is not on trial. This is actually a hearing. I'm just thinking about in the court of public opinion, but that's not the court we're talking about. All right. Anyway, so she got this hearing. He's overseeing her hearing. So how much of her personal controversy, of her personal situation, you think has played on his decision? Whereas some people are saying, hey, I think it's like a compromise that he wants to play it safe, that he doesn't totally want to take her off. But it is a slight, it could be like consider a slight slap on the wrist for any potential ethics issues that she's facing right now. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Again, the judge, and we're being totally speculative right this moment, right? So the judge is supposed to be neutral umpire of the law and looking at it. And by the letter of the law, is this right or is this wrong? Is this permitted or is this not permitted? That's what his role is supposed to be. But of course, we know because of who the defendants are, as my law professors would say, defendant, it has become political. But again, he's supposed to remain neutral and look at what is presented in the case and say, is this sufficient or not? If not, dismiss it and bring me back some more concrete evidence, or bring this back in front of the grand jury so that they can see, a better laid foundation as to why you have brought these charges against these defendants. So there are people that might speculate, again, not being able to get inside this judge's mind, that he is now gave a little something and probably going to maybe, and again, this is for those who want to use the crystal ball. I'm not using it because it's hard to know what he will do. There are many in the legal community that argue that there is not sufficient grounds after the hearings that we saw with what came out with the relationship that existed, and when it existed was the key to some of the testimony given by Fani Willis herself, Nathan Wade having gone on the stand, the former law partner, her dad. It was really soap opera-y, so we don't have to rehash all of that.
Yeah.
People are like, is he giving the defendants a bone so that if he does rule that she can stay on the case and Nathan Wade can stay on the case, that it seems as if he's being impartial? I would hope it's not that type of kind of balancing act that's happening here, and that the judges should be as neutral as possible. But there are folks that will speculate that based on what they've seen, again, this was unexpected. When people are sitting outside the Fulton County Courthouse waiting on the Fani Willis ruling, and instead they got this, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, we're still looking at evidence and seeing if the charges should remain as they are. And he's like, no, let's take away these 6 because there's not sufficient evidence. So he's had a lot of time to start going through everything. Again, this is something that was unanticipated, but there are those who may think that this might be an indication that perhaps there may not be enough evidence as presented in the hearings that we saw to remove DA Willis from this case. But again, they are not related in a sense, but there are people who will speculate that they are related.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Big brother Willie Frazier, you said there's no way to lay this at her feet. Speaking of Fani Willis, saying instead of realizing that a judge is going to make it as easy on Trump because he knows Trump's guilty and his life is in danger right now. Yes, Scott McAfee has been the victim of threats.
Yeah, he got to run again. That's another thing. So
political threats. He's looking at a tough situation himself. In fact, Fani Willis is not the only one that has to figure out how to move. He is too, because as Brother Willie said, his life is literally in danger.
Yeah.
With this situation, which is crazy to me, Suzanne.
Yeah, sad.
It's really crazy that we're hearing more and more stories of that situation, of how there are threats against judges and federal officials in a case like this. My thinking is, now that we know Trump is the guy for the Republican Party, we know Biden is the guy for the Democratic Party. How should the Democrats and the Republicans respond to this latest judgment?
Well, I think it boils down to how it either slows down or speeds up the cases. There are people that, after being polled, say that they wouldn't vote for former President Trump if he was convicted. But a lot of things are happening in the 4 different jurisdictions that seem to kind of be slowing things down. This one was an unforced error, as people have said, throughout our social media discussions on this. And, this case probably is the strongest. I mean, the documents case in South Florida, again, this is why judges matter. Depends on who's ruling. And when they are trying to make things speedy, they will, right? And then there are other times where things get slowed down and people will say, well, this is judge's prerogative, or their caseload, or what they call their docket, is full. So they're not treating it specially. They're just going to go at the pace that it would normally take. And sometimes these cases do take a long time. So, yeah, I think it all boils down to the speed and how quickly any of these can be heard, and therefore the impact it will have on how people will vote. And I do think that, it's critical that hopefully we see, some resolution. It's hard to tell right now with the cases moving the way they are, especially this Georgia case. But yeah, whether we can, see some of these things actually move forward prior to the election in time for it to be resolved is still questionable. And the more delays, the less likely that is to happen.
I hear that. Now, really quickly, and I know we got to take another pause. How soon do you think we will get a decision on her case?
That's what we thought was coming out today. That's what's so ironic. I'm like, I would say in the next couple of weeks or two. That's what it seemed like from when the end of that hearing was. That usually, rulings come out next day if they want to, 14 days, normal, depending on the speed of that court. But yeah, it's almost like a pump fake. We're like, oh, that's what you're ruling on? Okay, thanks. We want to know, is she on the case?
My man went like this, and then he's like, oh, I'm over it.
We thought, made you look,
Right.
Like, what are we doing? So, yeah, I think in the next couple of weeks we should know, but everybody's, waiting with bated breath on that issue, because I think that will determine the speed or whether this gets prosecuted at all. So that's the key issue.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about what the Trump case and in terms of the classified docs case, and then we just saw what happened with the president and Special Counsel Robert Hur, his testimony in the House, was it Monday or Tuesday? I think it was, but earlier this week, yesterday. Yeah. It's very interesting to see how those cases are being handled, right? And more importantly, how the reverberating impact of those cases. And so this is interesting. This is like one of those things.
Name. That's what I'm saying. Like, the headline from this will be like, charges dropped against Trump. People are not going to read between the lines that the majority of the conspiracy charges still stand, but they're going to say, oh, she must have done something wrong. There are charges here. They overcharged. And that's what I'm saying. And even yesterday's hearing with Robert Hur, not to get too far into it, I'm like, it's a nothing burger. But again, he already decided not to bring a case against President Biden. It's very different from what the charges are against the documents case against former President Trump, and cooperation level, the amount of documents, why he purposely kept them in Mr. Trump's case willfully, but didn't immediately turn them back over or notified the proper authorities on Mr. Biden's case. All of it was to me, muddy the president's reputation. Again, the headline becomes, this, what we heard him say, his defense would have been a well-meaning, forgetful gentleman. At the same time, there were notes that he made that said, the president's mind and memory is like super sharp. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of news headlines and propaganda that can come out of these hearings and out of this type of movement in the case without people getting the full context and the full picture of what really stands and what it really means.
Absolutely. We're going to just continue to wait with bated breath to get the details or get the decision on that particular case. Folks, we got to take another quick pause when we come forward. Let's talk about Haiti, how Haiti is in crisis. So many things have happened over these past few days, and we want to bring you up to speed on some of the latest, and especially with the U.S. intervening or trying to do its part to intervene and try to bring some resolution to the situation and enter the crisis in Haiti. So that conversation is up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Got my sister Suzette Speaks, and we are chopping it up. Yes. Chopping it up. Suzette, very quickly, before we get to final conversation, what's your social media? Let's put your social media out there a little bit.
I appreciate that. All over the place. You can find me, Suzette Speaks. Yes, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Threads, if anybody's on Threads and all that. I appreciate the follows, y'all. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me, Suzette Speaks. I appreciate you. Yay, that's me.
Bing bong.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Follow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Make sure y'all follow me as well at The Real Faraji on Instagram. I put more stuff on my stories now. I'm getting more like younger folks. I just put stuff on the stories now than I do on my posts, but make sure y'all follow me as well. So we would love to connect with y'all. All right, this is something that's near and dear, and it should be near and dear to all of Black America's heart, which is the situation and the crisis in Haiti. That the gangs, quote unquote, have overtaken the capital in Haiti, forcing Prime Minister Ariel Henry to announce yesterday that he would resign once a transitional presidential council is created. Now in the country, in Port-au-Prince, they're saying that gangs control 80% of Haiti's capital and demand a say in the future of the country. According to one political expert, Haitian political expert at the University of Virginia, Robert Fatton, he said, even if you have a different kind of government, the reality is that you need to talk to the gangs. He said that, noting that gangs largely control the capital, if they have that supremacy and there is no countervailing force, it's no longer a question if you want them at the table. They may just take the table. Now, these gangs, according to what we're seeing, Suzette, that a lot of them have some strong ties to political and economic elite in Haiti. But now they're becoming more independent, where they're even financing some of their quote unquote criminal activity with kidnapping, ransoms to buy smuggled drugs. They're talking about getting guns and other things. Now, here's the thing I did not know. In the country of Haiti, folks, there are more than 200 gangs that are estimated to operate around Haiti, mostly in Port-au-Prince and the surrounding area. And more than 20 of them are based in the capital and rally around two main coalitions: the G9 family and allies led by Jimmy Chiriza, and a former elite police officer known as Barbecue, and GPEP, led by Gabriel Jean-Pierre, who is allied with Johnson Andre, who is the leader of the 5 Seconds gang and known as EZO. So there's some real situations down here. So you have that. We have the prime minister deciding to step down. And then we have, of course, U.S. military forces. The Marines are going down there trying to bring some stabilization to the situation. Talk to me, Suzette. How is this thing going to play out? What are you seeing, especially in the state of Florida, where there's a huge Haitian population in Florida? So what's your take with this?
Absolutely. I'm glad we are highlighting this today because being from Miami, of course, for those of you around the country and around the world watching, we have a large Haitian diaspora community throughout Florida. I think the numbers now are above 500,000. I think it's 544,000 in the state of Florida. 2.2% of our population in the state of Florida is Haitian or Haitian diaspora, right? Kids of Haitian immigrants. So this, just like we're seeing, you know, in other parts of the country where they're looking across to maybe their grandparents' country, like the Palestinian issue and other parts of our country where there are pockets of voters that look at foreign policy. Well, here in Florida, what's happening in Haiti is local to us here because of those numbers, particularly in the Miami area, North Miami. They used to have an all Haitian American city council. Right now, I think it's 4 out of 5. I'm talking about city clerks, the mayor, everybody been on, having also have served on the city of Miami, as well as the Miami-Dade County Commission. Haitian and Haitian American politicians are very prominent here in South Florida. So this issue has come to the fore yet again. The situation on the ground is so dire. When I talk to my Haitian American friends, it's very difficult sometimes to even get in contact with their loved ones. They're trying to send money via Western Union and trying to make sure people get funds. They're not being picked up. You know, there's, you know, total collapse of what we call civil society. Sometimes we think about the United States and, you know, our rule of law, that, you know, there is law and then everybody follows it and we have proper enforcement. We're looking at a country that right now, I don't know if this is an accurate number as of right now, 2023, the police force was 9,000 people for an entire, you know, country. So looking at the devolution that we've seen in Port-au-Prince, as you mentioned, the United States has a kind of catch-22. They have an embassy that is still technically open and functioning, and those Marines that you spoke of are there to undergird the embassy only. But how do we see, or how do we support both through the United States government and then regional governments have been meeting? There was a meeting yesterday in Jamaica, the CARICOM, the Caribbean Community Nations, as to how they can help their sister island get out of this complete quagmire where there is no longer any president. As you mentioned, Ariel, we say Henry, but Henri is in the French.
Oh, Henri, all right.
Yeah, it is. Ariel Henry had to step down. People, if you see on social media, I follow a lot of the Haitian diaspora has very strong social media platforms where I like to see what exactly their moms, their grandmas, what are they saying for real, not through the lens of maybe Western news sources. There's one called Le Union Suite that is run by a young lady out here in Miami, Wanda. It's one of the largest Haitian American diaspora platforms. So social media has become key in understanding what's really going on and how things are devolving on the ground. It's just scary. I pray every night for the women, the children, the men, everyone who are being held captive in their own capital. The airport has been locked down, so flights can't come in. Of course, people now are same kind of food insecurity we're talking about in the Middle East, where you know the border's not open and you can't get food in. Of course, they're trying to plan ways to help the civilian population, but nothing can be done, as you laid out at the open, without dealing with the gang issue. And it's hard for people to understand what that is like. You know, my parents fled Jamaica during political turmoil, when, you know, you're seeing, and the same thing happening in Haiti, all these guns. Haiti doesn't make guns, but they're flooded with guns. Same thing happened, and I'm talking about like in the 70s and 80s in Jamaica. But when my parents came here, it was political parties literally paying off gang leaders to control certain areas, to breed fear in certain areas so people would vote a certain way or wouldn't vote at all. There's a blueprint to this that has happened in many countries around this world, where there's an elite power broker class, that I think some people think, and again, I've been reading online, and this is speculation on my part, and I would love if perhaps maybe in the future we can get someone from, there's a first Haitian American Congresswoman, a colleague of mine, Sheila Sherfilis McCormick. She did a press conference Monday talking about the U.S. government making $300 million in aid to Kenya and other folks who have proffered themselves as being able to do some of the peacekeeping, boots on the ground work. Again, the optics of what it would look like to have American soldiers there, based on the history of the United States as it relates to Haiti. Many people are not taught that the United States in the turn of the 20th century, from 1915 to 1934, occupied Haiti with U.S. troops on the ground, right? Thousands were killed. It's a very interesting history. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt ended that occupation in 1934. But there's always been, can Haiti manage its own affairs? And there's a big movement now that the solutions must come from the Haitian people. But Haiti's self-governance has been disrupted over time, from being the first Black country to emerge from its colonial ruler at the time in 1804, first Black independent republic. There are many that have argued that they've been punished ever since. Not only did they have to pay back reparations for their own freedom to France, many people don't know that history as well, over decades, that the Haitian economy was devastated by what they had to send back to France in terms of their earnings through the GDP of the country, etc. And they've never really been able to recover fully. And you have the natural disasters as well, adding to this kind of confluence of terrible events on the ground. But people have been taking advantage of it, not only within Haiti, but without. A lot of folks have seen the natural resources there, the people there, as a place that they can go and try to exploit. So here we are yet again. Our brothers and sisters who are on that island are facing some dire odds. And why it is important to us here in America, people are going to start coming. The migration flow. We've seen this before when this country, unfortunately, and I know we got to take a break. Sorry.
No problem. You're good. And I think that what you're bringing up is valid, and we do need to talk about that. We need to talk about the migrant wave that, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida is preparing for, some of the things that he's doing. But more importantly, people are wondering, and Sean Ryan checked it in. He says, what are the gangs trying to do? What type of government are they representing? What are their politics? And I think, when we come back from break, I think that is at the central part of this conversation. It's like, what type of country do these gangs want to have? And some folks are even, I see Willie Frazier and others are saying, well, what about Africa coming in to help intervene? Some of the countries from Africa, since you're talking about Black people, you're talking about Black independence, what can we do? Maybe from Africa, maybe from America. How can we help at this time? So we're going to continue the conversation with those points being at the central core of the discussion. Folks, stay with us. Continue to join us in the chat as we're talking about Haiti in crisis. Post your comments, share your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. And just stay tuned. We still got a lot more to talk about here on the final few minutes of the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause, to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network, joined by my sister, Suzette Speaks, as we're talking about Haiti and what is going on down in Haiti and how it's in crisis. And I wanted to, as we talk about this, there are questions coming from our, culture crew, Suzette, about the politics of the gangs. What do they want? What kind of government would they like to see in Haiti? And I want to just share this and then get your take on that, because it was reported by AP News that shortly before Prime Minister Ariel Henry said he would resign, one of the gang leaders, Jimmy Shea Rizier, who is he's in charge of the G9 families and allies, he said that he had an impromptu news conference. He rejected any solution led and supported by the international community. He said, it's the Haitian people who know what they're going through. It's the Haitian people who are going to take destiny into their own hand. Haitian people will choose who will govern them. Well, so here's one of the gang leaders who are saying we will decide on who is going to run the government. Not anyone else, not the Dominican Republic, the DR, not America, not Africa. We will decide. So the politics is that one, they want their own, independence and being able to determine the fate of the country. But I'm wondering, how does that bode for those who have interests like America and others who want to see,
the people that
Haiti.
live there, the people that live there. He doesn't speak for everybody, but I think it's a very difficult assessment to make. And again, I'm not geopolitical expert. I'm listening to friends and those who belong to the Haitian committee here in Miami. And again, these are topics of like radio, like all over the place. People are talking about it because they can't get in contact with their family. What is really difficult to assess, Faraji, is how one begins to approach so-called gang leaders there. There has been a suggestion before, although he has rejected it, and I want to put so much respect on the history of that 1804 becoming the first free Black republic in this post-colonial era. The warrior spirit of our Haitian brothers and sisters is real, right? They showed, and during that time, it bred fear in southern slaveholding states and throughout the Caribbean that other people were going to follow what the Haitians did and were able to do. We also have to remember that Haiti sent folks to help the United States during our founding and when we were fighting the British for independence. Haiti was so strong that they were sending their soldiers all over to help people fight their wars, and now they're in need. And it seems as if, again, they're not standing alone, but there is a precariousness to putting your soldiers, United States or whoever, on that ground. There has been a suggestion made that because of the optics, I think more than anything, that it would be better to see Black soldiers from predominantly Black countries intervening. And there was a suggestion made and an acceptance, I believe, even up to last year, that Kenya was going to be able to supply about 1,000 peacekeeping troops. The difficulty is, and that has been some of the discussion here in South Florida, is that there is a language barrier first and foremost. Haitian people speak Creole and French, and the British colony, former British colony of Kenya, English speaking, and they have a different, I don't know if the right word is temperament, but the idea and what I think you referenced in that commentary by Jimmy Barbecue is that there will be almost like, even though the races will be the same, the mindsets are different in terms of being able to help, quote, manage and the conditions on the ground. Other part being, you can send peacekeepers in, but right now there is no government. There is no, who is going to take power? How is there going to be an election held? And then again, people are not able to move freely to get food, to go to a hospital. The doctors are no longer going to hospitals, right? Roads in and out the capital are closed. We got to remember that the former prime minister, who is now just resigned, he couldn't land because they deterred his plane from landing at the airport there. So think about that. Think about the lawlessness, so to speak, where without the rule of law, what can actually take place on behalf of the people there. So I do think there has to be some sort of intervention. Eventually, some boots of some kind are going to have to touch ground in Haiti. There has to be humanitarian assistance for sure. They're talking about 11.5 million people, 9,000 at the last count, police to protect that many people doesn't even add up. So the folks that are making statements on behalf of the gangs, it can sound, and again, I'm not the best expert when it comes to all of the intricacies that overlap at the same time as to why we ended up here. But I encourage people to really look at the history of Haiti, and there is again some sentiment among Black diaspora scholars that think that a lot of what has taken place is as a result of them being defiant enough to fight for their own independence and becoming the first. The other thing I want to mention is we want to, again, we don't have enough time to talk about it here. There's an article I was just going to pull up from NPR talking about the great heist that took place with how Haiti basically over about 100 years paid France, the slave holders that lost money from the Haitian independence that was achieved in 1804 equals the amount that they were forced to pay in reparations to the slaveholders and their descendants is equal to about 20 to 30 billion. Thank you for bringing that up.
Wow.
20 to 30 billion in today's money. And it took them almost 112 years to, quote, pay it back. So the suffering that we see is not in a vacuum. Money that could have been used to build infrastructure, schools, roads, all the things that we need to have a functioning society was being sent back to those who formerly owned them in France. This is not taught. So there's also, where did the money go? Why can't they do that? Nah, there are forces that never wanted to see Haiti as a successful, self-governing country. So I do see a lot more, even when the U.S. occupied Haiti from 1915 to 1934, the company that we know today as Citigroup was behind that takeover because they wanted the rich wealth that was there to come to American soil, basically, right, and be controlled by American factions that would evolve into what is now Citigroup. At the time, I think it was like Citibank, etc. But the history there is not just now, is what I want to point out. It has a long arc as to why people felt they needed to intervene. And so now that there is hesitation to intervene, we don't want to, especially, again, the United States as a swing vote, Haitian Americans from Florida to New York.
I'm glad you bring it in right there, Suzanne.
Shout out to Brooklyn, right? There's significant pockets of Haitian Americans, Delaware, right? Jersey. Yep. And they're going to have their vote heard as well. But yeah, there's much more I can say about it, but I'm not sure how it will all proceed when you have this level of violence, because those folks that are perpetrating violence are Haitian, right? So he's saying he's fighting for Haitian people, but there are people that are being, mowed down in cross-gang violence, etc. So there has to be some sort of international intervention, whether they, I believe, want it or not. I don't think everybody's going to be on board with it, but I don't see it's going to happen. Sorry.
Look. You saying exactly what I was thinking. You saying exactly what no, real talk, because I don't know what world this brother is in, but Haiti is a valuable country, even though it has suffered under sanctions and all types of restrictions. Haiti is a valuable country. It's valuable to Africa. It's a valuable country. So the odds of this country that is in a space where it's not in a working, stabilized government, of people pulling back and saying, "Oh, y'all want to do it? Y'all do it on your own." That's not happening.
Too valuable.
It's too valuable in the eyes of the foreign interests. Let's just put it that way. The foreign interests of this country. Marines are already on the ground to protect the embassy. You're not going to have America pull out because a gang leader says we want to dictate our own fate. That's not happening. That is not happening. Now, how far will the government go? The United States government, how far will the international community go? That is yet to be determined. But I do know that in my little understanding of geopolitics, we're too interconnected. And it's all well and good where we want to say, yes, we wanted y'all to do some things, but people's lives are at risk. There's a humanitarian crisis that's going to emerge from this. We're seeing this. We already, as you mentioned, we're already seeing certain things, getting food, getting medical care. You got a whole bunch of children there. Like, there are just too many humanitarian issues that are on the table. And I know we don't have enough time today, but we got to revisit this and keep our look at this. Maybe, God willing, we'll come back to this next week. But looking at the role that Black America can play, because so many, and I see people in the chat, they say, well, why are we talking about Haiti? And guys, like, we're international people. Mm-hmm. We are international people. So if we go hard on Palestine, how can we not go and advocate for Haitians that are being subjected to oppression from their own people.
Our histories are intertwined, and I think sometimes that's being kind of taught
and
by.
So many of us are literally we have family members that are literally from Haiti.
The founder of Chicago was from Haiti. So I think I think sometimes
it's too close. It's too close. Yeah, it's too close not to say something. We have to look at it. All right, look, we got to wrap up. Suzette, it's always a pleasure.
This was deep. Oh boy.
We go deep, but I truly appreciate you, for real, for real. I truly appreciate you. I thank you what you bring to the conversation, to the culture. Folks, y'all make sure y'all check out my sister Suzette. She's doing a phenomenal job on her platform and her space on the Suzette Speak Show. You're also going to find her on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And of course, every Wednesday, God willing, she has been here holding it down with us here on the culture. She brings so much to the discussions, and it's just amazing. And I'm really, really excited that we can have more of these conversations. She said, Faraji, we need to talk about Haiti today. And I was like, by all means, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's at least lift it up a little bit. So Suzette, thank you for doing that. Again, what's your social? How can people get in touch with you?
Thank you again for always having these thoughtful conversations, and I appreciate our culture crew. We was popping today, y'all. We was over 400 people live. Let's go. I see the numbers. Follow me, Suzette Speaks, and I appreciate everybody watching, and leave your comments, Team Replay. Thank you. See y'all next week.
See you next week, Suzette. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Big shout out to the online culture crew. Y'all continue to hold it down, having fantastic conversations in the chat. Great comments, great questions, a lot of discussion. And I hope that today's conversation that we had on air will encourage you to think more, to study more, to just reflect really more on all that we discussed. So again, big shout out to you, crew, for your participation in today. Make sure y'all stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. is Roland Martin Unfiltered. Go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And of course, we ask you for your donations to help us in this digital movement. So just go to our website. All that can be done. All the latest news and all of the great content. You can also find us on Big Brother Roland Martin's YouTube channel. Go to his YouTube channel to see some of the big conversations and some of the more recent conversations. So go to his YouTube channel and to his Facebook page, and you can get up to date on all of this stuff. All right. So I thank y'all so much. Follow me on social media at The Real Faraji on Instagram. And as always, there it is right there, folks. Who is that guy? And I'm always putting something out now on the stories, on my IG stories, just to keep us up to date on what's happening in the culture. All right. So that's going to do it for me. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of the culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.